Everything always, my name's Michael Roman. Now, the last time we heard anything official from Marvel Studios, it was the postponing of their entire film slate, moving everything one slot to the right with the anticipation of releasing Black Widow at the end of this year. And since then, on a couple of occasions where we thought we might hear something official, especially at San Diego Comic-Con at home, there was no word to be had, and especially this past weekend when We Here at Everything Always even beat the local Australian news in reporting that indeed production had started at Marvel Studios and they were back on set filming for Shang-Chi, which is excellent news considering everything has been on hold till then. Two outliers though, WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. No official release date, no official word, and a ton of question marks, but we are right on the eve of a super important day and the most likely of dates that if we were going to get something official, it's coming then, and the news is definitely going to be reported at large, especially as soon as it breaks. We'll be covering it here at the channel. We're going to break down why this is such an important date tomorrow, what's going on, and why it's likely the first time we're going to hear anything official for release dates for both WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, as well as when we may get those trailers. But first, if you could grab the subscribe button, we're giving away 2 PlayStation 4 Pros, as well as a whole slew of other Marvel related stuff, including this insane 1/4 scale Beta Ray Bill, as well as our 3rd Infinity Saga box set. If you want to be entered to win, all you have to do, hit the subscribe button, then hit the notification bell, leave a like and a comment on this video, and if you want, stick around at the end of the video, we'll get into all the giveaway stuff again there. Now, depending on where you're standing, tomorrow could be considered the dreaded Q3 conference call for Disney, and that's truly a dreaded call for everyone at this point who's in business, who's gone through anything this year. Contractions in basically every sector across the economy, especially for Hollywood, especially for the silver screen. And Disney, of course, is going to have an earnings call, as they often do, again for their 3rd fiscal quarter this year. And when they do, it's not always just about the numbers, but rather they talk about upcoming shows and current productions so that they can annotate those numbers further and give a clearer picture as to what's going on with the company. Now, if you think it's any coincidence that they're officially back on set and filming literally 48 to 72 hours before they have that conference call, then you'd be mistaken. It is no coincidence at all, and I'm guessing they held out to the last second possible to put people back on set, as they have now for Shang-Chi, in order to at least get that done before this earnings call, so that they could say, hey, look, everything from Qs 1 through 3 is a total wash this year, but we are sort of moving towards normalcy now in a way that we haven't yet. Now, this still leads WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the only 2 outliers that are super important for the fiscal 4th quarter for Disney, and that's why there is a ton of anticipation from pretty much everyone in the industry that we're going to hear something about that tomorrow. And it would only make sense. Look, there's only 3 releases left to be slated this year: Black Widow, which we're going to get back to, WandaVision, and Falcon in the Winter Soldier. If 2020 is not going to be a complete financial loss across the board, especially as it pertains to Marvel Studios, then releasing at least one of these 2 shows this year is pretty much the only option they have left. And looking at other conference calls in the past as sort of a track record for this, they definitely talk about this stuff. They know most people are going to want to know, hey, are we getting either of these series? And it would be highly unlikely that we're going to make it out of a Q3 earnings call talking about what's left for this year and not mention either of the Marvel Studios Disney Plus shows. That's why, outside of a separate announcement of some sort of MarvelCon, which we reported on the rumor here at the channel of, this is going to be the most likely place we're going to get confirmation of the release. And when we do, and if they are still releasing one or both of these shows this year, that means that a trailer for one or either will be quick to follow. And we've talked about the most likely place for that being, of course, with one of these NBA games coming up. But they're not going to just throw that trailer out there. It's going to be after the news is widely reported. And I would also suspect that they're going to have some sort of announcement in tow. Now, whether that's a MarvelCon or something else, they have an entire platform in Disney Plus that they're still trying to drive subscriptions towards. So outside of releasing the trailers the way that they normally do on YouTube, that would be an excellent place to put any sort of mini announcement, even if it's a 10, 15, or 20-minute segment, much in the way they did expanding the Marvel Universe when first they launched Disney Plus, because some people might go ahead and reboot up their subscription in anticipation of The Mandalorian, these upcoming Disney Plus TV shows, and just to see what that's all about. We're all starved for Marvel content, and they have to know that. I'm super stoked for tomorrow, and of course we'll be covering the news as it breaks. Now, one final thought as it pertains to Black Widow, because that's the third piece of the equation for what's left in this year. Guys, let's read the landscape here. I think it's highly unlikely that theaters will be open in the way that they normally are in max capacity, meaning if Marvel Studios can still release Black Widow at the end of the year, given how many regulations and restrictions they're going to be, the box office takes, unless Black Widow is basically in every theater, is going to be drastically diminished, which opens up the conversation for how much money they could make if that went to VOD. Now, obviously, there were some very negative repercussions when earlier this year Universal decided to release Trolls in VOD and say they were going to do a mixture of releases in the future. The AMC and Regal theaters both saying that they would no longer show Universal Pictures. Disney doesn't want to get into that battle with any of these theaters, but it's really hard to imagine a theater blackballing Marvel Studios, as their box offices have been some of the biggest in history, especially here real recently. So I think more likely the case, if Disney realizes that they can make a ton more money going video on demand, just find a way to profit share with the theaters in order to do that. They're still a company, they still have to make money, and I have said a million times here at this channel, there is no way they are ever going to put Black Widow on video on demand. Shoot, they'll wait till summer of 2021. But now I'm not so sure, and especially on the eve of a conference call for their Q3 earnings, this year has been one for the books and way out of the norm. If they get to the end of this year and theaters are open, but they realize that they can't make anywhere near as much money from the box office as they normally would have made under quote-unquote normal circumstances, you can guess that a VOD release will be right around the corner, if not simultaneous, and I think that that's going to be super interesting and perhaps change the landscape, but that's for a different video. Guys, let me know all your thoughts down below in the comments. How do you feel about Black Widow eventually hitting VOD and maybe not theaters? At this point, I think we'd all be for it, as well as do you understand how important tomorrow is? Of course, the Disney stocks are probably going to be reeling after this, but more importantly, that we're finally going to get some news whether those shows are coming out, and if they are, that means a trailer is right around the corner. Let me know all your thoughts down below, and quickly, let's get into the giveaway stuff before